El Paso Zoo can now claim to be the best on the border. This week, the Hispanic Chamber BizTech Conference named the El Paso Zoo's website as the best on the border. Judges say they choose the zoo's website, or they rather chose the website, not only for its user-friendly style, but its teaching aids that help teachers. It's used as a resource to teach local students about endangered species and wildlife.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to It's a Zoo Out There. I'm Rick LoBello, Curator of Education at the El Paso Zoo, and this will be our last installment of this program for the year 2004. We'll be back in the spring, and tonight we're going to be talking about our special traveling safari program to nursing homes. But before we meet our volunteers who are going to tell us all about it and show us some animals, I want to invite you to our holiday lights at the zoo. We have an expanded schedule which begins Thanksgiving weekend, right after Thanksgiving on Friday and Saturday night, and it's also going to continue on throughout the holidays, including the weekends in early December. You can see the expanded schedule on our website at www.elpasozoo.org, or you can call the zoo for more information. So we hope you'll come to the zoo for holiday lights. And we hope you're enjoying your holiday season with the cooler weather. So tonight we have with us two of our senior volunteers, part of our Senior Advisory Committee. We have Jeanette Surface.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And Annie Langenfeld.
Hi.
And we're so glad that you can come and tell us about this exciting part of our volunteer program at the zoo. So why don't we start with you, Annie? Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you want to tell us about this program.
I'd rather tell you about the program.
Okay. How long have you been a volunteer?
I'll be starting my 19th year in a couple of months.
19th year, and you're almost at the 5,000-hour mark.
Right.
That's going to be a big day in your life, and we're excited about it.
I'm proud of it, yes. And it's been wonderful the whole time.
So tell us about the nursing home program, how it got started, because if anyone knows the history of this, I'm sure you do.
Well, it did start back when I started as a volunteer after I graduated from our class, and we were starting to go out on safari programs. I suggested to the education curator that why couldn't we go to nursing homes, and they hadn't even thought about it. But I told them how I felt about it and what good I thought it might do. And they checked it out, and that first year I think we started with 5 nursing homes. And it's just grown every year till now. We are almost every day of the week we go to a nursing home. And that's in conjunction with going out to schools and everything else. So it's a big part of our program, our volunteer program.
Is there a big demand here in El Paso for the zoo to go out to nursing homes?
Yes, there is. We get more and more calls all the time. We have a wait list. Really?
We have a waiting list.
And people wanting, but we want to do a good job, not quantity. And so we just have to pace ourselves, and when an opening comes, then that next person can come.
So how do the people at the nursing homes react when we bring the animals to them?
It's wonderful. We see everybody from maybe they're just there for therapy, physical therapy and things before they go home, to those who are quite ill, to Alzheimer's patients. We just see the whole gamut of people, and it's such a joy to be able to get a smile out of some of them, or a reaction, or the best part is when they remember their youth, particularly when we have rabbits and ducks and things like that. They have great stories of when they were young, and it brings back good memories for them.
Right.
So it's very therapeutic, not only for them, but I think for we volunteers also.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, makes a big difference.
And Jeanette, you've been involved in the nursing home program as well. How long have you been involved?
I came in about 2 years after Ann did.
Wow.
And I've done a lot of nursing homes and schools and all kinds of special activities in the zoo grounds. And the nursing homes can be very, very rewarding. It's very common for the nurses to come up and say, Mrs. So-and-so has not spoken in weeks. You've got her to talk today.
Really?
Or you'll have someone who's in a semi-coma and you put a little rabbit next to them and they feel it, and all at once they smile and they respond. That's very rewarding to see that happen. Animal therapy is very special.
Now, what kinds of animals do we take out to the nursing homes?
Well, normally small fuzzy things that they can touch. At one time we tried to take snakes and discovered that that was not the animal to take to nursing homes.
Right.
Very frightening. So little things that they can pet and
Right.
reminisce about. We have rabbits and chinchillas and ferrets, and this little one I'm going to show you in a little bit. It's not very petable, but they do like to look at it.
Well, have there been any outstanding stories that either of you could tell about how our visits to a nursing home have helped to perhaps solve any serious problems with patients?
Well, I think just the fact that we do get them talking, we've run into that quite often.
Oh, yes.
Where either they are very upset about something that's happened, and so they refuse to talk. We run into that. Or maybe the certain stages of Alzheimer's where they're not talking much or don't want to talk. And just to get a sound, the smile is wonderful, but then to get them to vocally come out with something, just, you know, it's almost like, and the nurses sometimes will go, look, you know. Oh,
and patients reacting.
Yeah, exactly.
A couple of weeks ago I had a duck with me, and this one man started singing to it.
Really?
And he made up a song all about a duck and quack, quack, and he was having so much fun. It really brightened up his day, and ours too.
Now, do we have enough volunteers, would you say, to adequately meet the demand for the nursing homes in El Paso?
Well, obviously I don't think so, and I don't think Jeanette does either.
I don't think we've ever had enough volunteers for anything.
For anything. We need more volunteers. And if we had more volunteers, we could take on more nursing homes.
You know, one of the things we've been trying to do at the zoo is expand our volunteer program, as you know, because you've been helping me with strategies on recruiting. And one of the things that we've decided to do at the zoo to help with this nursing home program is start up a new volunteer shadow program where a volunteer can come in between training sessions. Normally we have the training in the fall and the spring, but if someone wanted to come on now, all they would have to do is fill out an application and let us know they're ready, and then we would allow them to shadow you to learn about the program until the next training session starts.
Right.
So I'm sure that would help us a lot if we just got more volunteers.
I think so.
We had a person do that last week, and she's a good potential for a volunteer in the future.
And to be a volunteer, it's not that difficult. You just have to learn some basic information
That's right.
about the animals, and then before you can actually handle the animals, we ask people go through an animal handling class, which is not that difficult. And then you have to have a TB test once a year, fill out an application, and get a uniform shirt and a name tag, and you're on your way.
That's right.
So tell us about the animals you brought with you.
Well, this one's so small you wonder if we have anything here. This
Show
is
us one, Annie. He's cute.
This is, oh, we're so in love with these. These are new to our program. And this is the South American gray opossum.
Opossum.
Now, he's fully grown, believe it or not. He's, when we say opossum, you normally think of the American,
Right.
United States possum,
Right.
North America, and he's a long way from being like ours. Nice, soft, furry little guy. He has a prehensile tail
Wow, that's cute.
that he can grab or carry things with.
Just like the opossum in the United States.
Right.
Right.
They are marsupials, although these little guys usually don't have the pouches.
Yeah.
But they do have babies at least 4 times a year.
Wow, they're very prolific.
They're very prolific, and you can think how tiny those babies must be, as tiny
Right.
as this little girl is. And they attach themselves to the mother's mammary glands and stay there for 4 to 6 weeks. But these out in the wild are omnivores. They eat meat, or carnivores. They eat meat, insects and small rodents, which is why the people of South America consider them a good luck charm. They
Wow.
like to have them around because they eat the spiders and the
Right.
small rodents.
And this is one of the animals that we take out to nursing homes?
Exactly.
Okay.
And it's a big hit, although some of them look at them and think they're a rat. So we have to explain, no, they're not a rat. And then they just get beguiled by them. They're just absolutely darling. So
Now we have 2 of them, right?
we have Patricia and Nibbles.
And nibbles.
Yes.
And does he nibble on your finger?
They are wonderful. You know, they have 50 teeth in their mouth.
Wow.
That's an awfully small mouth to have 50 teeth.
Yeah.
And they're very sharp, but they seldom ever bite. They're a very gentle animal.
And I would say that not only do the nursing home people enjoy seeing them, but I think you enjoy holding them.
Oh, I love it. I just love it.
So for people who love animals, this is a great program to be involved
Exactly.
in.
Exactly.
To help share the joy of animals with other people. And Jeanette, you also brought an animal with
yes.
you. What do you have?
This is an African hedgehog,
Oh, he's beautiful. Look at that.
and he's covered with tiny little quills, which are sharp, which is why I'm wearing these gloves.
Now, can he shoot those quills like a porcupine?
No, no.
No?
He curls up in a little ball for his defense, and all you see is one little ball of quills,
He's got
which
the cutest
protects him
face,
from
doesn't he?
other animals. Yeah, this is her name is Sancha, and I think she's a European. She's from Europe. And there they run wild, and at night they come out. And as you're driving around, you can see these little critters running around. And I just learned from Ann that in Europe they also have hedgehog hospitals.
Really?
So they're a very common animal. But I think they're darling. We do take these to the nursing homes. However, we carry them in this little plastic box so they can look at it, but
He
they
won't
don't
jump
touch it. No, right now he's busy. He just ate a mealyworm. We have some little worms in here. This is,
So he's an insect eater just
yes,
like
this is what a little
the opossum.
mealyworm looks. I don't know if that shows on the camera
Right.
or not, but he just had himself a worm.
Now, if we have any teachers listening tonight, we also take these same animals out to the elementary schools.
Oh, the kids love these little animals.
And,
They get so excited when the zoo comes. It's
and
just
if,
like,
if you are with a school or a nursing home and you want to request a program, people can visit our website and print out the form and send it in. And they can also see what animals we have.
and we have school programs from pre-K all the way up to, what, 4th, 5th, 6th graders, according to what kind of a program they're working on in school.
I guess he likes going underneath that paper
He loves
towel.
to hide. He likes to hide under papers or...
Now, are they nocturnal in the wild?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to thank both of you for coming on today and for your great service to the community and to the El Paso Zoo. You certainly are the backbone of our volunteer program, and that's why I named you to our advisory committee.
Oh, well, thank you.
And we'll be visiting with some other volunteers and a member of one of the staff at one of our nursing homes in El Paso right after this break. Welcome back, everyone. Tonight we're talking about one of the most important programs we have at the zoo for our community. Most of the viewing audience, I'm sure, is aware of the fact that we do go out to the schools and and take our traveling safari animals out to children in the community. But we also have another very important program that takes live animals out to people living in nursing homes, people who don't get a chance to go to the zoo as often as other people. And this program has been ongoing at our zoo for a very long time, and for our second segment we're going to be visiting with the activities director of the Nazareth Hall, Kristen Panetta. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
And then we also have another volunteer, Roland Brown, who's active in this important part of our education program at the zoo. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
So we'll be talking about one more animal, and then we're also going to be looking at some video that we recently took of some of our volunteers in action. And why don't we just roll that video, and Roland, why don't you narrate it a little bit since you were there that day. And we'll look at the video now showing, this is you, Roland, showing one of our animals. So tell us about what's going on here.
Well, what we do is we want to share some of our more gentler and softer animals with the residents at the nursing home.
TV 7.
And allow them to touch. This is Lynn, and she's got one of our two, not Asian, I started to say Asian, European ferrets. And they're a little bit hard to handle, but the residents seem to really enjoy the company. One thing I enjoy about going to the nursing homes is to see the faces and the eyes brighten up as they get to see and to touch the animals. It's very stimulating for them. And so I think Ann mentioned in the first segment that they started with about 5 nursing homes. We do about 13 per month now. So it is very taxing on the animals. We probably could use a few more animals because we run out.
Right.
And
we never take an animal 2 days in a row.
we try not to because it's very stressing for them.
Right.
It is. And of course the volunteers that we have, we don't want to overtax our volunteers by asking them to do too much.
Right.
So we do need some additional volunteers. And this is Jeanette, and that is Daisy the duck that she's holding there. And as she mentioned, we had some comments from a couple of people there that, oh, we used to have those when we were children.
Right.
One gentleman made the comment, says, why don't you call the kitchen and tell them to warm up a big old pot? And we figured, well, I think it's about time for us to leave.
So how long have you been a volunteer?
Well, actually, I started in March.
In March,
So
right.
I've only been doing
So
this
you,
about 8 or 9
you went
months.
out to this day. Where was this nursing home at?
The name of the nursing home I don't remember. It's up on top of the hill off of Murchison Street.
Okay.
And but they all have similar issues and similar
Right.
problems.
Sure.
And the residents just enjoy the break in their routine,
Right.
being able to interact with people that they don't know,
Sure.
with animals that sometimes they've never seen before.
Right.
And so they really enjoy that. It's very stimulating for them. And I'm sure Kristen can tell you that they probably talk about this for days.
For a long time.
Yeah,
Sure do.
sure.
Well, this is Jeanette, who we visited with earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And there's you holding a ferret.
We had to trade. I started out, I think, with Sissy, who was a domestic rabbit. She's quite large and
Right.
quite heavy. And so we tend to trade them around because
Right.
they do get a little bit heavy after a while.
Right.
And also the ferrets are quite active. I compare them to a young child that's had too much sugar to eat. They're very
Right.
hyper, very active.
Not only is it rewarding for the people at the nursing homes, but I think it's pretty rewarding for the volunteers,
I
isn't
think
it?
so, yes.
To
Very
have
much
that
so.
opportunity to brighten up someone's life.
Yes, very much so.
So tell us about the animal you have in your hands here.
Well, this is a South American chinchilla.
Uh-huh.
And there are a lot of these young animals alive right now in captivity. This is, if you have an opportunity to touch a chinchilla, that is the softest fur on earth.
Oh, yeah.
Very, very soft. Whereas humans, most humans, they have 1 hair per follicle.
Right.
And chinchillas, they can grow from 50 to 60 hairs per hair follicle.
Wow.
So it's very dense and it's very soft. And the reason is they live in in the Andes region and the mountainous regions of South America.
Where it's cold, right?
So they need the protection from the cold. But the side effect to that, it's a very soft, very desirable fur.
Right.
And from many centuries ago, from the times of the Incas, they were kept as not only pets, but they were kept for their fur and also for food.
Right.
The fur was used for ornamental attire, and unfortunately to today, it's a very desirable fur. And you can see by the size of this animal that it takes a lot of them
To make a coat.
to make
Right.
even a short coat.
Right.
And so we would discourage this, but you know, that's the way I feel about a lot of our animals. I would discourage them from even rabbit or mink, or
Sure.
because you have to destroy an animal in order to
they're
get
so
that.
beautiful.
They are. Look at this guy.
Look at those whiskers and that beautiful black face and those
Oh, yeah.
big ears.
Yeah, and that is one of the softest
And
animals.
he's pretty easy to hold, isn't he?
Well, he's used to being held.
Yeah, he's used to being held.
Yeah,
And I bet the people in the nursing homes love touching an animal
Even
like
the
that.
ones that have sight problems,
Really?
they can touch the fur, and
It
he
really
is so
gets
soft.
their attention, doesn't it?
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Well, thanks for bringing that animal on and showing it to us. Kristen, tell us about your job at Nazareth Hall. Where is Nazareth Hall?
Nazareth Hall is right across from Loretto Academy on Trowbridge and Reynolds.
Oh, okay. And you're the activities
I'm the
director
activities
there?
director there. I've been there for 2 years now.
2 years. So tell us about this program from your perspective. You know, we've heard 3 volunteers tonight talk about it. How do you feel about this program? How important is it?
I love this program. You know, the residents, the reactions that we get from the pet visits and everything. I mean, if you could only see the way their face brightens up when they come and, pet the animals, and like he said, they enjoy, their visits as well as, the pets and everything. And I use them like for our residents that are bedfast, our residents that do not come out of the rooms.
Right.
And I mean, they're very, very receptive to these visits.
So our volunteers will go into the rooms and just visit with one-on-one patients
One-on-one,
as well.
and that's what I like,
Right.
that they really take their time and they're really dedicated
Right.
to their job.
Now, from my perspective, it seems like most of our visits to the nursing homes are during the fall months.
Yes.
But is there a need for this program throughout the year?
I would think so. I mean, I as far as I'm concerned, I wish it went all year long.
Right. But we need more volunteers
Yes,
to do that.
Yes, because I mean, I know that our residents, when it's time for them to take their break, for the zoo people to take their break, they're looking forward to
Right.
them coming back.
Right. So how often have we been to your nursing home?
They come to my nursing home once a month,
Once a month.
and they've been there since I started. I was using them previously at another nursing home.
Oh, okay.
So I've worked with this program for quite a few years.
Can you think of any examples where it's made a real major difference in the life of a patient besides, just making their lives more enriching? Has it helped to perhaps bring someone out of
Oh, yes,
quiet
yes.
stage?
Oh, yes, yes. Like I say, I like this program for my residents that are bedfast and room-bound.
Right.
And it really stimulates the resident to come out of the room,
Right.
and start socializing and interacting with the others. And it's a great program.
Is there any particular animal that you've noticed that they like the best?
They like this
They
one.
like the chinchilla,
And
huh?
Daphne the duck.
And Daphne the duck.
Yes.
And how many patients do you have,
We have
or
100.
residents?
We have 100
100
residents at this
residents.
time, yes.
So this is just another example of how our program at the zoo is so important to our community, and it's another reason why we definitely need to support the expansion of the program and have more volunteers and more animals. Most people, when they think of a zoo, they think of it as being a place just to see animals, but they don't realize how we also go out into the community and make a difference in not only schools but nursing homes.
Yes, exactly.
So is there anything else about the program you'd like to share with us that perhaps we haven't touched on? We know we definitely would like to have us come out more often.
Exactly.
And
And, well, like you said, I wish they were able to come out more often, but at this time it's impossible because they don't have enough volunteers
Right.
to do this.
But you have enough patience and you have enough hours during the
Yes.
day where if we had a regular full-time program, you probably would have us come out a lot more often.
Yes.
Great. So, Roland, let's get back to you a little bit. Is there anything else about the nursing home program that you'd like to share with our audience tonight? You've been a volunteer only since March, so you don't have too many stories to tell.
This is a new program for me. I started in late September
Right.
when they were planning this year's nursing home visits. And I was a little bit apprehensive about this because I didn't have any experience at the nursing
Right.
homes. But I think it was Ann that mentioned that there are people in the nursing homes that pretty much shut down as far as this is it, their life is over.
Right.
And you bring one of these cute little animals in, and they brighten up. And not only do they brighten up, they start talking.
Right.
And they start talking about pets that they've had when they were younger, and pets that they've never seen before. I don't think I found anybody that's ever seen a chinchilla before. But you get people talking, and that's one of the goals, I'm sure, of a nursing home is to keep them active and to keep them interested and curious.
Sure.
And I don't think there's a better way.
Right.
Pets, I don't care if it's a domestic pet, a dog or a cat, or an exotic pet like this. They will enrich anyone's life, and they can stimulate, they can keep you interested and keep you active and keep you caring.
And of course, if you become a volunteer at the zoo and you participate in our nursing home program, there's also other things you can do too, right?
There is, now...
Because you do more than nursing homes.
Well, during the week, I like to visit with the school groups, different age groups from very young children all the way up to high school. And then on Saturdays, I volunteer several hours at one of our exhibits there at the zoo. My favorite is Asia, where we have all the way from our big cats to the orangutans to we have our nocturnal exhibits with the bats and the Asian squirrels, and that is so rewarding.
So that
to
makes
me.
your week much more interesting, and it's, there's a lot of variety in your schedule.
There really is.
Well, we've had a wonderful time visiting with our volunteers, and thank you, Roland and Kristen, for coming tonight. We hope many of you will want to support this program. You can learn more about it by going to our website at www.elpasozoo.org and fill out a volunteer application. We'll see you next season. This is Rick LoBello for It's a Zoo Out There. Have a happy holiday. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the Audubon Society and what kind of programs you have, and then we'll look at some pictures of birds a little bit later on.
Well, our local chapter, as I said, we have the board meetings at the zoo, but we have our monthly meetings at the Centennial Museum at UTEP, third Monday of the month.
Okay.
In addition to that, of course, we have field trips 2-3 times a month to various locations all around El Paso and sometimes further away. One of the further ones, we go to southeast Arizona every Memorial Day weekend. That's one of the places you can see some real rare birds. We have, in addition to the Rio Bosque that you mentioned down by the river, about 4 miles away, we have a wildlife refuge, Feather Lake.
Oh, that's right. You know, I've never been to Feather Lake. I got to get out there.
Oh, yes. It's a great place. And we have water now, so there are birds, and we might have a little more after this last couple of days.
So what kind of birds are people seeing at Feather Lake right now?
We get migratory ducks winter over, shovelers, wood ducks, widgeons, American widgeons. Year-round, we have Mexican mallards. We have pied-bill grebes. We get odd ones now and then. We might get a pelican or two stop by as it's migrating through. What else?
What about the sandhill cranes? Do they ever stop by?
We've never had one land there.
Right.
They've been spotted a few times flying over.
Okay.
Another bird that comes in vast numbers in the spring migration northward is the white-faced ibis.
Oh, really? Those are beautiful.
We get up to 4,000 or 5,000 stopping over there
Really?
from late March, early April. Some of them stay a couple of weeks, go out in the fields to eat. Some of them stay only a short time and then move on further north.
So is Feather Lake open every weekend for those
Feather
who
Lake,
wanna
yeah,
go?
it's open from the 1st of October till the
Okay.
end of April. On Saturdays from 8 till noon,
Okay.
and on Sundays from 2:30 till sunset.
So do you have guided walks through the refuge
There's
as
not
well?
a guided walk with the open weekends. It's
Right.
just a host is there to tell people, and then they're on their own. They can walk around, they can look through the scopes that we have set up. We do guided walks by appointment with organizations.
Now, do you work closely with the Rio Bosque? Is that
Oh,
kind of like
yes,
a joint effort?
very close,
Right.
because John Sproul is the superintendent at Rio Bosque,
Right.
and he's also our sanctuary chairman.
Oh, great. Well, John was at the El Paso Zoo when we had Migratory Bird Day, and he gave some presentations as well. So how many members do you have, and how do you become a member?
Membership varies. We have enrolled about 400 members.
Wow.
The reason we have so many, really, is because we get everything assigned to us that signs up from west of the Pecos, in
Okay.
the Trans-Pecos. So we have members in Alpine, Big Bend, Van Horn, but they're not too active with the organization because of the distance.
Right.
But they're assigned by national based on zip codes.
Now, the National Audubon Society is the biggest bird watching organization in the world, isn't it?
As far as their total membership, definitely in the United States,
Right.
and possibly Europe has some, especially England, has some very active bird people. But as far as United States, yes.
So, besides having these meetings and taking field trips, do you offer educational opportunities for like just basic beginning bird watching?
Well, we try to schedule some trips like that. And also we have taught at UTEP in the Center for Lifelong Learning, which is for the old folks.
Right.
And we have a 6-week course in local bird watching.
Okay.
I don't know if we're going to have it this spring or not, but we usually have it about every spring.
You know, I meet people all the time and who talk about the birds in their backyard, and they're trying to figure out what they've seen. And once they know you know a little bit about birds, they'll call you on the phone and send you emails and send you pictures and so on. A lot of people would like to learn about bird watching, but just have never taken the time. So I thought what we would do tonight would be have a little mini bird watching course for you. And so what I'm going to do is offer some tips on bird watching, and then I'll let Bob finish up and offer his tips. So I thought what we would do is use this beautiful wood carving I brought with me of an acorn woodpecker. And have you ever seen an acorn woodpecker before?
We've had many acorn woodpeckers on some of our field trips, especially the ones in the forest into Arizona.
Well, this is a carving that a friend of mine who was the past superintendent of Big Bend National Park, Rob Armberger, carved for me. And these birds are nesting birds in the Guadalupe Mountains and in the Chizos Mountains, and of course in Arizona as well. They're mainly a bird of the high mountain region of the Southwest along the border. And so whenever I give a bird watching workshop, I usually will use this bird as an example of how to watch a bird. And so the first main tip I have to offer all of you tonight is when you watch a bird, you want to remember that it's like being a detective. You're playing the detective game here. So you want to look for all the possible clues you can imagine before you open up your bird book, because one of the first mistakes beginner bird watchers make, and here's an example of a bird field guide. This is a National Geographic field guide to birds of North America, which is very popular, and Bob was telling me before we got started tonight that this is a book that he uses, is that people will see a bird and then they'll open up the bird book, and then after the bird flies away, they wish they had maybe waited a little bit longer before they opened up the book, because they missed some very important information about that bird. So the first thing you want to do is you want to look at all the different colors on a bird. So if you look at this acorn woodpecker, you can see, first of all, he has a black bill. That's very important. And then he's got the white on the forehead. He's got the red on the back of the crown. He's got the black underneath the chin, and then the yellow on the throat, the black back, and then when he flies, he's got white on the wings. And those are just some of the basic color patterns. So looking at all the colors is important, and identifying all the colors that you can possibly see, not just while the bird is on the tree, but when the bird is flying, there's colors that come out as well. So, and then of course there's the color of the eye that sometimes is very important. So I always carry a little pad with me, and I write down all the colors I possibly can see, and I keep that pad in my hand, and then I put the bird book in my back pocket so I won't be tempted to pull it out fast. And then of course another thing you can look for is the size of the bird. And a lot of people, when they see a bird, they want to figure out the size, but it's hard for them to do because the bird is off in the distance and you can't simply walk up to the bird with a ruler. So one of the ways you can figure out the size of the bird is to compare him to a bird you already know. And in the bird book that you will have to purchase to become a bird watcher, all of the birds that are listed, and I'll pull out an example here from the National Geographic Field Guide to North American Birds. For each bird, you'll have a description of the bird and the color patterns on the bird, and then plus you'll find in the inside here on the paragraph, inside the paragraph describing the bird, you'll find the size of the bird. So you say to yourself, how do I know the size of this bird I'm looking at? You compare him to a bird you know. Most people, for example, know a pigeon. They've seen plenty of pigeons in their lifetime, especially when you go to the El Paso Zoo. They're all over the place. And you can figure out the size of a pigeon, and then you'll know how big that is, and then you figure out, well, this bird is about the same size as that pigeon I was looking at, and that gives you the clue on the size of the bird, because you're going to need to know that, right?
Definitely.
So I've talked about size, and I've talked about color. What else can you tell us in our little mini workshop tonight?
One of the things is the behavior of the bird.
Right.
As they gleaning leaves around branches, so forth, for little insects? Or are they looking for seeds? You mentioned the black beak on this bird.
Right.
They also look at the size and shape of the beaks. Seed eaters have a fat, short beak. Insect eaters have a longer, skinny beak. So that's a good thing. And as they say, the behavior, is he sitting on the side of a tree like this bird is sitting?
Right.
Or is he sitting on a branch, across the branch?
And then the bill itself, if you recognize the bill, that will at least tell you what part of the bird book to be looking into.
Right.
Because all the seed eaters are in the back.
Almost all.
Yeah.
As they say, the behavior, and when he flies, of course, the wing shape. If you're looking at larger birds, like the hawks and so forth, wing shape is quite important. Is it long and pointy? Is it broad?
Right.
So, and the tail when they're flying, is it long and narrow? Is it wide spread?
Right.
Those are just some of the things you look for once you get used to doing it a little bit.
And then what about a checklist? Is there a checklist available to the birds of El Paso?
Yes, the El Paso Audubon chapter, we do have a checklist that was updated in 2003.
Right.
And people, if they come to our meetings or they go to Feather Lake, we have them on sale for $2 a piece.
And so that checklist will help you because there's over 500 different kinds of birds in the United States.
Almost
And,
400 in this area.
Okay, so if you have a checklist of what's known to El Paso, at least that will help narrow it down.
Oh, definitely.
That's
And of
for
course,
sure.
these give if they're rare or abundant or somewhere in between.
Right. So if people go on field trips with the Audubon Society and they remember some of these tips we've offered tonight, and then go with you on some of your guided bird walks, and then even at the zoo we can put together a special bird program. Then, of course, practice
That helps.
makes the perfection
People
over
get
time.
aware of
Right.
what is going on
Right.
and what we have here. A lot of people are very amazed.
Why do you think most people are bird watchers? I know for myself, I just, like getting out into the outdoors.
I think that's part of it. They also are becoming more aware because there have been a lot more news about birds in the last 10 years.
Right.
And so people are becoming more aware. And then they see some birds just in their yard, and they wonder.
Right.
As you said before, they call you up.
Right.
I got this big little brown, gray, whatever bird, and please describe it to me. It's very difficult.
I know it.
Giving it to you on the phone,
That's
and
for
you're
sure.
trying to describe it. But if there's a possibility that I can go out, quite
Yeah.
often I will go out.
And then you ask them, well, what size bill did it have?
Yeah.
What kind of bill? And they say, oh, I forgot to look at the bill. Well, Bosque del Apache is a great place to go bird watching here in our region. And of course, there's the Feather Lake and the Rio Bosque. But tonight I want to remind everyone that the Bosque del Apache National Wildlife Refuge near Socorro, New Mexico, is one of the most outstanding wildlife areas to visit in our area. And it's a place you should definitely consider taking a trip to during the colder winter months here in southern New Mexico and in our area. And so we have a little bit of video footage of the Bosque that I took last year, just about 40 seconds worth. So why don't we look at that for a few minutes and talk about the Bosque. Okay, here we go. These are sandhill cranes and snow geese near Socorro, New Mexico. It's only about a 3-hour drive from here. And I strongly recommend that everyone watching the program try to make it up there at least once in their lifetime. This is early in the morning at sunrise. You should get there by 6 o'clock so you could watch the first major flight. Have you been up there?
I've been up there many, many times.
It's wonderful, isn't it?
We have field trips up there.
And I believe there's over 20,000 snow geese and over 10,000 sandhill cranes at the refuge. And you know, I've been around the world seeing animals everywhere you can possibly imagine, Africa, China, and I have to tell you that in all my travels, I would say that this wildlife refuge is one of the most spectacular places to see animals anywhere. Wouldn't you agree?
It's very amazing. In addition to birds, you can see deer, porcupines, and a few other things.
And then I believe it's the third weekend of the month that they have the Festival of the Cranes in November. And so there's still time for viewers watching at the zoo out there tonight to make that trip and not only see the birds in action, but also to learn a lot more from those who come and exhibit during the festival.
I think, yeah, the festival is the 20th of this month. It's
Right.
actually from Tuesday through Sunday of
Right.
that week. That includes
And we
that
have
weekend.
a link to the friends on our webpage at www.elpasozoo.org too, so you can get more information about the area. And then we also have with us some digital images of some of the birds of our area. So perhaps we could take a look at those images now. And first, here's a sandhill crane. Now, did you say that we haven't seen many sandhill cranes around El Paso? I've heard them fly over.
We have a lot fly over, reported flying over, but if you go down the valley, which we have a field trip
Right.
next Saturday, this coming Saturday,
Oh, okay.
we're going to meet at Feather Lake at 7:15
Okay.
and go down to McNary, Fort Hancock, and Tornillo, and quite often down in the McNary area in the fields when they're migrating, you can see them.
Oh, okay. So if people want to go on that field trip, should they just drive out to the refuge gate?
They can just drive out to Feather Lake, which is a quarter of a mile west from Loop 375
Okay.
on North Loop Road.
Okay.
And then on the left is Feather Lake, and the gate should be open by a little after 7, and they can drive in, park. We'll carpool, or they can take their own car. Should bring a lunch, because we probably won't be back till 1 or 2 o'clock.
Okay. Well, let's look at some other images we brought with us. I believe this is a picture of Boot Canyon, where this acorn woodpecker is from, in the Chizos Mountains. And then the next image shows an acorn woodpecker in the wild. You know, they're called clown-faced woodpeckers. And I think they're
Yeah.
appropriately named, don't
They
you
are
think?
very.
And they're very noisy, and one of the unique characteristics of this woodpecker is that they do live in family groups. And I've seen quite a few family groups in the Chizos Mountains and the Guadalupe Mountains over the years. What about woodpeckers in our area? We don't have acorn woodpeckers in El Paso, correct?
We get a few,
A few?
every winter. We had 3 up in the Coronado Country Club
Oh,
area
really?
last winter.
Oh, okay.
And They gather acorns and hide them away.
But they don't nest here.
No.
Okay.
We do have the ladder-backed woodpecker, which is a little bit smaller than the acorn, and its back is like a ladder. It's black and white streaks across the back, all the way from the nape of the neck all the way down to the tail.
Oh, okay.
And that's where it gets the name ladderback.
And what about flickers? They're kind of like a woodpecker.
We have a few flickers that nest around here. But we have quite a few in the wintertime that migrate in.
Right.
And those are the two primary, although, as you said, we get a few acorns. We'll get some red nape sapsuckers, now and then a Williamson sapsucker. That's about all that we see in woodpeckers in this area.
Now, would you say we have 3 major groups of birds or 2 major? I know we have our resident birds that are here year-round, and then we have our nesting birds. They migrate out.
I look at them.
How many groups of birds do we have?
We have residents, which are here year-round. They nest
How
here
many
and everything
residents
else.
do we have?
Oh, we must have 100 plus.
100 plus resident species of birds. Those are
That you can-
birds are here year-round and they nest here.
Depends upon where you go to find them.
Right,
I
okay.
mean, sometimes they're near water in the valley. Other times they're up in
And
the mountains.
common ones would be...
Oh, robin.
The robin? What about the white-winged dove? I see those everywhere.
There's a few of those around. In fact,
a few?
Our Christmas bird counts back in the mid-'80s, we had 80 or 90 white wings.
Wow.
We now have over 2,000.
It's amazing how their
That's
numbers
just
have increased.
a small thing
And
in a
besides the
small area.
white-winged dove, we also have the mourning dove. Are they
We have
resident
mourning
birds? And the Inca dove, is
Inca
that a
doves,
resident bird?
That's a resident
Okay.
bird.
And then what are some other... What
the
about
other
those
birds
big
we get-
black ones you see all the time?
The grackles,
The grackles?
great-tailed grackles.
Great-tailed grackles.
They're a little annoying to a lot of people
Right.
because they do raid nests and so forth.
Right.
But the categories, as I say, are the residents, the wintering overs,
Right.
which are migrating, and a lot of them stop here and then go
Right.
back north. Or we have the summer residents, which come in and nest here, but then they migrate
Right.
out of here further south usually. And then we have the ones that actually migrate through
Right.
in the spring and in the fall.
Let's look at some more images of some birds of our area. You know, our birds are of the Chihuahuan Desert. That's the region we're in. So how many black-throated sparrows have you seen around here? I used to see them all over the place in Big Bend.
Can I say something?
Sure.
That's a black chin sparrow.
That's a black-chinned? They renamed
Well,
it?
let me look again.
No, that's a black-throated.
No, that's a black-throated.
That's a black-throated.
Yeah, that's
okay.
a black-throated.
So have you seen many of those?
Yeah, they nest here. They're year-round. You find them out of Waco tanks quite in the open more, not in around houses.
Okay, and let's look at the next one. Okay, this is the rock wren, right?
The rock wren, you'll find those at Waco tanks also.
Right. That's a great place to go bird watching.
It is,
I love
very.
hiking around there, and of course you can see them almost anywhere in the Franklin Mountains, right?
The rock wren, definitely.
Right.
Anywhere there's rocks and crevices. You
And
mentioned Waco tanks. We have a third Sunday of each month at 8 o'clock
Okay.
in the morning. We have a bird identification tour.
It's a great place to go bird watching. And here we have the scaled quail, but around my house I have never seen the scaled quail, although I've seen plenty of gamble quails.
It depends upon actually where you live in relation to moisture
Right,
versus more dry. The scale quail you'll find in areas that are drier.
right. But would you say that in El Paso County there's more scaled quail than the gamble quail?
Here again, it depends
It
upon
all
where you're
depends
at.
on where
Down
you're at.
along the moist areas
Yeah.
and along the river.
Well, this guy is also called the cotton top,
Yeah.
but the scaled quail has the bigger little plume over its head.
Well, the Gamble's has that big
The gambles,
black plume sticks
the
up,
black plume.
where this one has this little white crest.
Right,
And they were also known as the blue quail.
right. And you can see the feathers look like scales. Let's go to the next one. Turkey. Do we have turkey? Native turkey.
Not in this area.
In the Guadalupe Mountains we
In
do.
the Guadalupes, they do.
Right. And these ones were at the zoo. And then, of course, roadrunners. You see those everywhere.
Most everywhere. They're strictly, not strictly road runners, actually, because they will fly a little bit.
Right.
When they get excited or being chased or when they get out of the way, they will flap their wings and take off and fly for 50 yards.
Now, isn't the roadrunner the state bird of Arizona?
State bird of Arizona.
And what's the state bird of Texas?
Mockingbird.
The mockingbird. Okay, what else do we have here? These are all resident birds. This is a shot I took down at Rio Grande Village in Big Bend. Have you ever been bird watching down there?
We've been to Big Bend also.
Many times, right? And then we have a close-up of a great horned owl. How about great horned owls? Have you seen many of them?
Yes, in fact, every now and then I get a call, somebody's got this owl in the tree down the street, and they want to know about it, and they explain it, and it's probably a great horn.
More than likely a great horn. And then the next one is of a migratory bird, right? We don't have nesting. We have nesting cattle egrets? Really?
We have a number of rookeries around
Okay, I've never seen
Lower
one.
Valley, Upper Valley.
This one is from the zoo.
Back to the cattle egret, in these rookeries there are black-crowned night herons, cattle egrets, and snowy egrets, usually all three.
Okay. And then we have another one. This is the vulture coming up, the turkey vulture, after this cattle egret. How about turkey vultures?
They're
Are
migratory.
They're all migratory.
Well, they're summer residents.
Right.
They come in March and they leave. Most of them, they're all gone now.
You definitely don't want to go near a turkey vulture nest, right?
Well,
I've heard some
they
bad
will-
things that can happen
They
to
will
you.
spit at you.
And if you know what they eat, you don't want to get spit on by a turkey vulture. And then we have, I think, a couple of other pictures here after the turkey vulture. That's it? Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming, Bob. It's been great having you, and I hope that we can continue to work together at the zoo on educational efforts, and that many people will want to get in touch with the Audubon Society to become involved and to reconnect with nature, because that's definitely a tremendous priority for conservationists, for people to reconnect and to go outside. So why don't you tell us again about how often you meet and what you have coming up quickly? We have about a minute left to go.
As I say, our meetings are the third Monday of each month at the Centennial Museum
Okay.
at 7 o'clock. Our next field trip is this Saturday, the 6th. Meet at Feather Lake at 7:15, and we're going down the valley. We hope to see white pelicans, 4 species of grebes, many ducks, and we'll eat lunch on the way back.
Okay.
We have our Christmas bird counts coming up, which is a special item that's done every year. About 1,900 of them are done around the country, and it's looking at birds in about a 15-mile diameter circle. We count all the birds in one day that you can see in that circle. We have teams that take different sections of the circle. So
And do you need to be an experienced bird watcher?
no, because we will help teach everybody.
teach you on the
and
spot.
they can call our number 757-1876 on
Okay.
any of this information.
Great. Well, listen, thank you again for coming. It's wonderful having you on the program. This is Rick LoBello from the El Paso Zoo, Curator of Education. Be sure to tune in every week for It's a Zoo Out There, and to learn more about our programs in the zoo, you can visit us online at www.elpasozoo.org. Good night, and we'll see you next week.
And again, there was no physical